Because of the power of the world and the unknowability of God, we move into the realm of paradox. And this is where we'll get to how we understand God in terms of God's creation. In the Western philosophical scheme, there are two concepts, transcendence and immanence. Transcendence is the otherness of God. Immanence is the knowability of God, the presence of God. For the Christian, the immanence of God would be through Jesus Christ. That is how God became known to man. Right? God so loved man that he became man. That idea. That this is how the human being can know God. For the Hindu, the immanence is through the worship of forms, of idols. How then is God immanent for the Muslims? Because if we have the utter otherness of God or unknowability of God, how then, as an individual, do we feel any closeness to God? If God is so exalted and so above the creation, how do we feel any intimacy with God? For the Muslim, the immanence of God and the transcendence of God are related to two fundamental concepts about God. One is Rahmah, and the other is Ghadab. Whoops. Opposite. Yeah. I want to get it there, right? That's where you want it. Justice. And you get the point. I mean, I could go on and on. There are many, many examples. This is the immanence of God. And this is the transcendence of God. It's interesting that the Qur'an begins, Bismillah. Allah is a transcendent name of God. It's not an immanent name of God. It's a transcendent name. There is actually nothing we can associate with the name Allah, according to the Muslims. But then the next two names are Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, the merciful, the compassionate. That is, out of the three names that we are given at the beginning of the Qur'an, there are two relating to mercy and one relating to this transcendence or otherness. This is consistent with the Islamic worldview because the Qur'an says, my mercy is over my wrath. That the dominant quality that Allah is showing His creation is mercy. Not wrath, but wrath is there. This also relates to two and very important concepts which are termed fear and hope. Now, if you want to look, because Muslims, like the traditional Christians, as above, so below. Right? What Durkheim and everybody, they turned it upside down. As below, so above. In other words, we're just projecting our world here on the other world. Fear is related to the father. The father for the child in traditional worldviews, not so much in the American type of ideal now, but in traditional worldviews, the father is transcendent, the father is distant, the mother is immanent. The first thing that happens to a child, onto the breast. It's not to the father, it's to the mother. The nearness that the child experiences in the world is the mother, and the father is distant. The father is watching the act from a distance. The word for rahmah in Arabic. So if we say mother here, the word in Arabic for mother, for womb, is rahim, which in Hebrew, rahim, they have the same idea. Jews have the same idea. Rahim is the same root word for rahmah, that it is through the womb that rahmah comes into the world. Without the womb, there is no sense of rahmah. And the womb is seen as one of the greatest rahmahs, because one, it is a rahmah in that this helpless creature is protected in the womb by a caring, loving individual that does not want harm to come to that which is growing in her and being nurtured because of her mercy. The idea of the mother, the compassion, right? It's the idea of compassion, that the mother is forgiving. The father, it's more difficult. And how many scenarios do we know in the human condition? How many scenarios do we know where the father throws the child out and the mother lets the child in the back door? I mean, this is very common in human conditions, right? The father, I'm not going to have anything to do with that. That's it. But the mother can't. And I know a friend of mine who was Jewish. He became Muslim, and they had a funeral for him after he became his family. And he was still alive, but they'd considered like that he died. But his mother used to send him cookies on his birthday, right? So the idea that the mother, even though this person has done something so severe in our tradition as that we cut him off, the mother doesn't cut them off. It's very difficult by nature. And this relates to the womb. The womb is empty. There's room in the womb for forgiveness. Right? There's room there for forgiveness. Look at the womb. By its nature, the womb is a very small room in the midst of woman, and yet it can expand to take in so much. It has this flexibility, and it bleeds. Right? It bleeds. The womb bleeds. It renews itself. And these are very powerful metaphors and images for this idea of immanence. The